your engines! Here we got a car, a Toyota Corolla. The fan belt flew off while driving down the road. Well, why did it fly off? How do you fix it? Stay tuned and I'm gonna show you. Take a peek under the hood. As we look inside, what do we see? The fan belt has come off the compressor. Just flopping around now. Now you know why I wear gloves. It gets greasy under there. Now as you can see, the reason it broke is it's all covered in oil. They get oil permeated, then they rot and they fall apart. So there's definitely something leaking oil in it. Now there isn't much room, you can see, even with these bright lights I stuck in here. We're gonna have to jack it up and pull the wheels off. Take the wheels off. Fan belt here, so we'll check that. Get that out of the way. It's so gooey from the oil, it just came apart. There we go. Now we want to make sure the pulleys aren't locked up. That one doesn't turn because it's the crank. It's not supposed to. So we'll pull them out, and they all seem pretty free. There's nothing binding. You always have to be like Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, the belt was old and gooey from an oil leak, but could be one of the pulleys locked up and finished it off. Always check everything before you start putting it back together. And since everything's greasy, we're going to degrease it. Gotta get all that grease off of there. We want to spray all the pulleys to get the grease off and let it sit about 15 minutes. And then comes the really fun part. Figure where this belt goes. It goes in various strange places. Luckily, I have all data, so I printed it out. Now, if you don't have all data, get your phone out. You'll probably be able to Google fan belt location. This is a 2004 Toyota Corolla 1.8 liter engine, and you can certainly find a picture somewhere. Me, I use all data. Nice picture. I can look at it while it's there. I don't care if it gets dirty and greasy. I'm going to throw it away when I'm done. Now, there's a trick to this. As you can see down here, there is a fulcrum bolt on the tensioner tied under the socket. That is a 19 millimeter socket and a nice long extension bar. So when we pull it, the whole thing moves in and gives me slack. Now, as a warning on any Toyota and any other car, but especially the Toyotas, that whole assembly, you pull it towards the front and that loosens the tensioner. That's kind of cheaper metal. Make sure you got a good, solid 6-point socket that goes on there, and pull it slowly so you don't strip it. Because if you strip it, you're going to have to buy the $200 tensioner assembly and take it all apart. Pain in the butt, so be very careful when you do this. Now, I can't film putting it on because one, I need 2 hands to do it, and 2, there's no room to even put a camera. So basically what you do is you fish the fan belt around here, back down around the crank, over here, then it's not over the last pulley here. That's where you put your finger on the belt here. Then when you tighten this, that loosens the slack, and then you last slip this one piece on. It is one stinker of a job. It's better to do with 2 people instead of 1, but I do it by myself. But I can't film it, so remember, you just start at the alternator, you fish it the whole way around here, around here, around here. Then this won't fit on the pulley, it'll be over here, the belt. And as you tighten that, that goes down. You get more slack and you can push it over the belt, then it's done. And as you can see, it's all snapped on, but I trust nothing, so I'm going to start it up. Go outside, and as we can see, it's spinning fine. AC, it's blowing cold. It's not making any weird noises. Now, if you do this, you turn on the AC, it starts squealing, means the AC compressor's starting to lock up. In that case, turn the AC off, and if the noise goes away, you can still drive the car, won't hit the fan belt, but you won't have any cold AC. Now, of course, this didn't fix the oil leak. Well, I put some UV leak dye in it. The oil was leaking around the main seals of the engine. You'd have to tear the whole engine apart. We're going to try some AT205 reseal poured into the engine, see if it slows it down, because in this old car that was bought as a used knockaround car, customer really isn't interested in tearing the whole engine apart and rebuilding everything. The AT205 reseal often works fine. Just take out the oil cap, pour the whole bottle in the engine, and put the cap back on. Don't forget to put the cap back on or you'll have an oily mess. Then you just let the engine run for about half an hour to help run it through the system, rejuvenate the seals. And now, since the belt's on, put the tire back on, line up the studs, start a couple of them by hand, get 2 of them snug, and then do the rest of them. So the next time your fan belts get a little funky and fly off, now you know how you can easily fix it yourself. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Matt D1 says, hey Scotty, I'm looking for a cheap, easy to work on car. All right, well, easy to work on these days may be a misnomer. All cars sold in the United States are extremely high-tech cars. You gotta know quite a bit to seriously work on them. So what do you really want? You want a cheap car that doesn't break down. Get yourself a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. You know, they don't break down much. Nothing's cheap these days, but you could get a good used one if you priced around. Now, at least with those, if you do have to fix stuff, you get a little bitty 4-cylinder engine. There's still a lot of working room. I mean, you can change spark plugs on those yourself, brake pads, stuff like that. That stuff is easy enough to work on. They're not high tech like, let's say, a hybrid car where they have regenerating brakes and an electric motor and a gasoline motor and a computer that interfaces them. You won't be dealing with all that crap if you get just a plain old 4-cylinder Corolla or a Honda Civic. They're great cars and they can last a really long time. And even though they are extremely complicated, like everything else these days, if you do have to do some work, they are small engines. They're in enough space that you can easily do things like spark plugs, air filters, things like that yourself. 101 says, how's it going, Scotty? I recently got a 2020 Toyota Corolla with a 1.8. I've been driving the thing for 390 miles. Do you have to baby it since the engine's new? How do I break in the engine on my new car? Okay, modern cars pretty much don't need much metallurgy and everything's differently. But it's a good idea. Don't drive at full speed. You know, I mean, I wouldn't push it over 75 miles an hour the first 1,000 miles or so just to break it in. If you want to be an absolute fanatic, change the engine oil and filter at 1,000 miles. Then just change it regularly after that. But do that in the first place. If there's any little wear inside from metal pieces when they built it, you'll drain them out fast away. Roy Hines says, Scotty, I tried to start my Honda Pilot 2013, 34,000 miles. The battery showed that it wouldn't show the slightest light. I checked it with a meter and it said 0%. So I tried to jump start it, but it won't start. The lights come on, but it won't start. Alternator and starter are working. How do I fix it? Generally, that thing's pretty new. It's a Honda Pilot. I doubt that you locked up the engine and the engine's locked up and it won't spin. So you got one of two things going on. Either the battery is so shot it won't start, or you now have a problem with your anti-theft system because it went dead and it's up and you got to reset the anti-theft system. From my experience with those Hondas, odds are take that battery out, throw it away. Well, don't throw it away. It's polluting. Bring it with you to the store, like AutoZone, because they're going to charge you like 15, 20 bucks if you don't give the old one for recycling. Buy a new battery and put it in. The battery went dead anyways, odds are it's going to start right up. Generally, a problem like yours is you got a dead battery that's 0. Let's say it's an older battery. Let's say it's the original one and it's 7 years old. Shot anyways. I can guarantee you that. So when they go to 0, they have no power at all. You try jumping them. That battery is still a giant drain on your system because it's fully flat. And even though you're jump starting it, it won't overpower that. And sometimes it'll make it so that you can turn the key and it'll run, but it won't start because it has enough power with your jumping capability to make the engine spin, but not enough to operate the computer system, the ignition system, the fuel injection system. So if I were you, go to AutoZone or someplace, whatever's near you, buy a good battery, put it in, and thanks, Scotty, because that will probably fix it. If it doesn't, next thing to check is see if your anti-theft system has a problem. Random Dave says, Scotty, what are your thoughts on the 1960 Nash Metropolitan as a weekend toy? I understand they're underpowered, easy to work on. Can you get parts? I've only done things like fluid brakes. The busy family, I wouldn't have a lot of time, so would it be a bad idea? My uncle had one when I was a teenager out in the country outside of Rochester, New York. That was a fun little car. The picture, the one you showed, man, it looks like it's fully restored. If you're going to buy something like that and you get it at a good price, go right ahead. It's going to hold its value. That's a collector's item. It will always be a collector's item. Make sure, if you buy a vehicle like that, that you get insurance. They're very easy cars to steal. You want to get insurance on it, you go get those collectible insurance. And it doesn't cost that much. I've got customers that do that. And if it's a deal where it's your toy and you drive less than, I don't know what it is, like 4,000 miles a year or something, got a guy with a Corvette, he pays $400 a year for his insurance. Especially if you're older, because they know you're not drag racing and it's a toy. You want it to pay its money insurance. And they're cute little toys. You can still get some parts for them because it's a collector's item. And as a toy collector's item, something breaks, you'd expect you're going to have to wait to get parts and send away for it. But yeah, again, if I lived out in the country and I had space and somebody showed me that thing, let me tell you, I would go out and buy it. Such interesting cars. Billy Bob's Hunting says, I got a 2013 Lincoln Navigator. Check engine lights on. It has misfire code P0303, cylinder number 3, misfire detect. If you have a misfire because of the ignition system, bad coil, bad spark plug, bad computer, driver circuit, whatever, it's always going to trip misfires for that cylinder. If you have a fuel problem, they can also cause misfire, and a lot of times it won't trip the misfires when you look at the misfire data. Don't be confused that just because it says your car is misfiring. Ignition system, lots of reasons. On an older car that were easier to work on, you would have just taken a number 1 fuel injector, injector, put it on number 6, put number 6 on number 1, and if the misfire moved, then you know that was the injector. But on these modern ones, it's a real job doing that, so you want to try other things first. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.